Black metal is a weird musical genre, but I think everyone knows that. A few months ago, I dived into a couple of albums regarding their tuning. One was Philosophum and the other was De Mysteris Dom Satanas, and I discovered that they're not in very conventional tunings. Now, listening to some of the old black metal albums, especially the ones from the Norwegian scene in the 90s, there are even more oddities when it comes to tunings. The first band we're going to talk about is Darkthrone. We're going to talk about the first few Darkthrone albums. We're not talking about Soulside Journey, just the more black metal stuff. And we're going to start with Under a Funeral Moon, because Under a Funeral Moon is probably the closest to standard tuning out of this whole list. Under a Funeral Moon is E standard, and the cool thing about this album is that you just need to pick up a guitar in E standard and play along. Panzerfaust is another album that you just need to pick up a guitar and play along. But this time your guitar just needs to be in E flat and then you're all good. Now here's when things start to become a little bit more weird with Darkthrone. Now let's talk about A Blaze in the Northern Sky. This one is similar to Under a Funeral Moon, but this one I've been able to pinpoint a little bit more accurately on how it's a bit weird. So on the recording, especially in the shadow of the horns, there's a bit of dissonance within the power chords. Because if we take one of the main riffs, you can hear there how the power chords sound pretty much bang on, but on the recording, what I noticed, and I'm not sure if it's intonation or another reason, which I'll talk about later, but the A string is very, very slightly sharp. So if I were to take a normal power chord, and now what I'm going to do is just slightly bend the note on the A string, but the A string is ever so slightly sharp on the recordings, so it would sound more like this. And there I was just very, very slightly bending the A string. So that's another oddity. But it's not as odd as Transylvanian Hunger. I bet there was one time where you wanted to learn the Transylvanian Hunger riff and you saw a tab online and everything sounded great until you played along to the song and it sounded like arse because the tuning is really weird. So the Transylvanian Hunger tuning is E standard at 429 Hz. So it's ever so slightly flat compared to normal 440 E standard tuning. And that's why your guitar sounds really bad when you try to play along to any of the songs on the album, because you're not in the right tuning. Now the Hertz is a bit of a discretionary tool, because depending on your guitar and the intonation and how well the guitar is set up, it might be 2 Hz either side depending on your guitar. So that's something to try for yourself, but 429 Hz is the best ballpark figure that I've found to play along to this song. And this is what 429 Hz sounds like. wraps up Dark Throne. Now we're going to talk about Burzum. So, Burzum. We talked about Philosophum and how it's tuned to 450 Hz in the previous video, and this is what it sounds like. There's another Burzum album in this tuning, and that's Det Som and Gangvar. And what about the self-titled Burzum album? E standard 455 Hz. And it's the same tuning for Vyslyset tar oss. So now very quickly, talking about Immortal, Pure Holocaust is F standard at normal 440 Hz. Mayhem. We talked about De Mysteriis Dom Satanas and how it's E standard at 432 Hz. So as a refresher, this is what it sounds like. So now let's work backwards from De Mysteriis. Live in Leipzig has another weird tuning, but it's quite similar to De Mysteriis in that it's just E flat in 432 Hz, which sounds like this. Even Death Crush has a weird tuning. It's C sharp standard, but at 445 Hz. And now we're going to talk about one more band, Thorns. Now let's talk about Thorns and the Grimmick demo. So this demo I discovered was in C sharp standard, but around the 445, 444 Hz kind of ballpark. I spoke to Snorruk Blackthorn himself. Here's what he had to say.
I think it was like a mishap on my tuner that I put it into some other tuning mode, like 444 or something like that. And I didn't know how to put it back or if it mattered or anything, so I just left it there. Mayhem in the early and the punk bands and stuff like that, they just tune by ear.
Now let's hear this Grimmick tuning, C sharp standard in 444 Hz. So nice fitting conclusion and some words from the legend himself, Snorruk Blackthorn of Thorns. Thank you everyone for watching. Big thanks to Blackthorn, and we'll see you in the next video.